Good morning, friends on YouTube. I'm back with this little video I've been telling y'all about. I did a little study last week. Sorry, that's blurry, but have you ever been told by a loved one, God won't give you more than you can handle? I have. I've been told that a lot. And I've told people that a lot. So last week I was thinking on it. I was like, I'm going to look into it. I want to find the Bible verse that says God won't give you any more than you can handle. And I couldn't find it anywhere. It was just, there was like Google images of pretty pictures with this quote in it, but no verses. So I went to, I think it was BibleGateway.com is the site. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. And this is what I found. And I'm going to read you a couple of things. And I'm going to put it on this because I look horrible. We're still in the hotel, still in the room, because the power was still out last night, but I got a message late last night that it came back on. So we do have power at home now. And but I got sick yesterday morning. I have really bad stomach issues, and I had a stomach attack, and I was just very sick. So we were going to try to stay at the house last night, but we had to come back to the hotel. So I'm going to read this now. God won't give you any more than you can handle. I'm certain that there are scores of precious people who have said this phrase before. God won't give you any more than you can handle. The questions are, is that a Bible verse? Is that true? Well, the actual thought comes from 1 Corinthians 10:13. But there, the Bible is specifically talking about temptation. No temptation has overtaken you, but such as is common to man. And God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will provide the way of escape also, that you may be able to endure it. So, one of the biggest falsehoods ever is the thinking that God won't give you more than you can handle. And may I also say this is could be a lie from Satan, how he deceives us into thinking things. Because when things do get hard in life, I'm going to go over to this page now. Excuse me. Let's see. It appears. In times like these, oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to see. I'm not a teacher, but I just really felt like y'all might benefit from this and maybe teach other people, because a lot of people that are not Christians, that do not follow Christ, they'll use this as an excuse when bad things happen. They'll be like, well, if God loved you, your grandma wouldn't have died. And that's not true. So let's have some clarification and understanding so that we can teach them properly. Okay, I'm going to go back to reading. The Bible verse, 1 Corinthians 10, 6 through 12, are the verses before 13. And 13 is the verse that people have been taking out of context. Because the verse says nothing about circumstances. It is talking about temptation and falling into sin. So I'm going to go back and read it. 1 Corinthians 10, 6 through 12. Now these things happen as examples for us, that we should not crave evil things as they also craved. And do not be idolaters, as some of them were. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink, and stood up to play. Nor let us act immorally, as some of them did, and 23,000 fell in one day. So, nor let us try the Lord, as some of them did, and were destroyed by the serpents. Nor grumble, as some of them did, and were destroyed by the destroyer. Now these things happened to them as an example, and they were written in our instructions, upon whom the ends of the ages have come. Therefore let him who thinks he stand take heed lest... the print is all messed up because of my printer. Take heed lest he ran. Therefore, my beloved, flee from idolatry. The promise in 1 Corinthians 10:13 is not about God giving us more than we can handle. It is about God not allowing temptation to overwhelm us without Him providing a way of escape, so that we can endure the temptation and not fall into sin. Through 6 through 12, it's saying, don't lust after evil. Don't become idolaters. Don't commit whoring. And then in that verse, talking about whoring, it tells how in one day 23,000 people died for falling into these sins and being judged. And then don't try the Lord. Like a good example is do something dangerous because you think God's going to keep you from getting hurt. Like here where I live, out in the mountains, there's some churches that handle snakes, for example. And that is like, they're Bible believing churches, but they think that through their faith in God, they can handle the snakes and they won't get bit. But that's just, that's you trying Him. That's you assuming He'll save you. And He finds fault in that. And don't complain. When your situations are bad, don't be a complainer or a grumbler. Because what we're going to find out here in a minute is most of the time these are tests. God does test us to see if we can endure. Okay, so I'm going to go continue reading. think this is very critical to understand because many people may feel that when life gives them more than they can honestly handle, they may conclude that God has let them down. They may even repeat this phrase, God won't give you or me any more than we can handle. But I do not believe that God has promised this. I think that this is one of those phrases, much like God helps those who help themselves, and people repeat so often that they assume it's in the Bible, but it is actually not. And also another one is the golden rule or something, do unto others as you would have them do to you. That's not in the Bible. That's just something that we've made up. So what does the Bible say about this subject? Because clearly in 1 Corinthians 10:13, that's where people are taking the verse out of context. They're saying that God won't give you more than you can handle. However, he is not speaking on circumstances in this situation. He's talking about temptations and falling into sin. It's two very different things. So what does the Bible say about this? Where is God and how does he help us when life throws these curveballs at us and one thing gets stacked on top of another thing and on top of another until we feel that we are under the crushing weight of pressure, anxiety, and stress? Well, if you are like most people, you will have to be honest and say that this phrase comes out of your mouth more often than we like to admit. I can't handle this. Can you relate to that? Have you ever said, I can't handle this. I can't do this anymore. It might be that the kids have frazzled your last remaining nerve. I've been there, y'all. It might be a coworker, friend, or acquaintance who has betrayed you or seriously gotten under your skin. It might be the traffic on the highway or in town. It could also be that a close relationship is terribly strained and that a dearly beloved friend or family member is really ill or has died. I'm sure you can make your own list here. My printer is running out of ink. So it's really hard to make out. See? Focus. Focus. Okay. Let's see if we can get this. In times like these, we are to cling to the phrase, God won't give you any more than you can handle. Tighten our shoelaces, take a deep breath, and push forward despite how we really feel. And when we are poured out and at the end of the last ounce of strength, we should conclude that either God has let us down and not kept his word, or we are just too weak, or both. No, I think there is another answer, a biblical answer. Okay, sorry. I'm running a temperature and I'm burning up. So either I get really, really hot or I'm really, really cold. Y'all pray for me. I don't feel good. I think it might be, I'm praying it's not my appendix. But, yeah, I'm really sick. So let's pray I don't need surgery. So here's the biblical answer. In 2 Corinthians 1, 8 through 10, Paul wrote, I'm so sorry, y'all. Bear with me. 2 Corinthians 1, 8 through 10, Paul wrote, "For we do not want you to be unaware, brethren, of our affliction which came to us in Asia, that we were burdened excessively beyond our strength, so that we despaired even of life. Indeed, we had the sentence of death within ourselves, in order that we should not trust in ourselves, but in God who raises the dead, who delivered us from so great a peril of death, and will deliver us, he on whom we have set our hope, and he will yet deliver us. May I be... So that was the Bible verse, 8 through 10. And then it's going to say, may I be so bold as to say that God allows us to be in situations where we can't handle it, and when it's beyond our strength, so that we might depend on him more. Notice that Paul said that this affliction that came to him in Asia and burdened them excessively was beyond our strength. The NIV version puts it this way: we were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired even of life. So pretty much they were suicidal. Like, they everything, they were just so miserable that they would just rather die than live. And he concludes that this was in order that we should not trust in ourselves, but in God. It appears that God will give us more than we can handle, so that we will give him the handle to steer our lives. The point is that the key to the Christian life is not trying to be strong in ourselves, but rather letting God's power and strength fill and empower us through the inevitable difficulties of life and even gospel ministry. Think of people like Moses in Exodus 3, verse 11 through 12, Gideon in Judges, Jeremiah in Jeremiah, David in 2 Samuel, Peter in Luke, Paul in 2 Corinthians. They were all given tasks and tests that were much bigger than themselves. In fact, many people in the Bible were overwhelmed with what God called them to do. God would often remind them that he was with them and would supply what they needed. Over and over again, God took his people into situations that were humanly impossible, so he would receive the glory. It was much more than they could handle, and that was the point. God's power showed up to see them through. Where they were weak, he was strong. What we can be assured of is that when we go through these difficult trials, God will be with us. He will also use those trials to develop perseverance and proven character. He will use our experiences of his strength showing up in our storm to comfort others who are going through similar stuff. And we can say to them from experience, you will make it through. So, God is mercy and comfort. The trials he has comforted you through are supposed to give you empathy so you can help others and comfort them. And also, a lot of times people, when they have that say, well, why would God let this happen? Sometimes God doesn't let things happen. Sometimes the devil gets his hands around things and messes stuff up. Y'all all know John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. But I have come that you may have life and have it to the full abundance. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. That was verse 11. And the thief in this is the devil. He is a liar, a stealer, and a robber. Will rob you of your happiness and joy if you allow him. When you see those things happening, you need to rebuke it and say, "Not today, Satan. Get away from me." So use your discernment in the situations. Let me see what else I have to read. So I want to say, you can pause. I'll set that on there. You can pause it and read it if you would like to. So God's love is perfect because He is perfect and He can love perfect. And here are some lessons I've learned in my life, because I have had lots of heartache, lots of heartbreak, mostly from circumstances that I put myself into, and people I chose to bring into my life. Nobody can or will ever love me the way I need to be loved. And I think I was probably 30 before I figured that out. I was always trying to fill a void in my heart with love that I wasn't getting from other people in my life, like my parents or George, my husband. And George is even the one that brought this up to me. He's like, "I'll never be able to love you the way you need to be loved. Nobody can do that." And that is so true. It's so true. The only one that can give you the perfect love is God, is Yahweh and Yeshua HaMashiach. They can love us the way we need to be loved. They are the ones that fill that void in ourselves that we are constantly searching for. And also Yahweh He'll send people to us to give us love that we may need. Like fellowship with other Christians and comforters. If you pray to Him and you say, "Lord, will you please send me someone that can help me understand this pain I'm feeling?" He'll find someone to send to you. It's pretty weird. Okay. Let me read Romans 5, 3, and 4. Romans 5, verse 3 and 4. "We also exult in pressure, knowing that pressure works our endurance, and endurance, approvedness, and approvedness, expectation." And that's saying like how when you go to the gym, and if you haven't been to the gym in a long time, how when you go and you work out and then the next morning you're sore all over, that's building your endurance. That's using your muscles. And you, even though it hurts, you still have to go back and keep doing it. And then one day it won't hurt no more. You have to work through the hurt. Let me see what else I have. James chapter 1, verse 2 through 4. "My brothers, Count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the proving of your belief works endurance, and let endurance have a perfect work, so that you be perfect and complete and lacking in nothing. Or then I have wrote down beside it, are we not closer to God in our weakness? We should be. He longs for us to come to him. So, when we are in the mind state that God doesn't give us more than we can handle, and when the situation becomes its breaking point and we are in despair, thinking God let us down, it is wrong, because we are not really understanding the truth. And the truth is, God will allow situations to happen so that we can draw closer to him and see his mercy and power firsthand. And sometimes when the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, we have to acknowledge that and rebuke it and call on our Father to help us, and he will. Anytime you call for him, he will come to you. Anytime. Yahweh is open 24/7. Just like 7-Eleven. He is always there. Alright, so I have one last thing to talk about. I wanted to talk about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in Daniel 3. Excuse me. If you've never read the story about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you have to. It's an awesome story, and I remember learning it as a child through, like children's church, and also Daniel in the lion's den. That's a good one. And Jonah in the belly of the whale. So let me tell y'all a little bit about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were 3 Hebrew men thrown into the fire because of King Nebuchadnezzar. And King Nebuchadnezzar ordered the furnace to be 7 times hotter for them because they would not bow down to worship King Nebuchadnezzar. They told him that their King Yahweh will deliver, is the true Lord, the true God, and it's against their belief to worship King Nebuchadnezzar, and that really, really mad. And they told him that their King Yahweh will deliver them from King Nebuchadnezzar's wrath. And even if Yahweh don't deliver them, they would rather die than serve false gods and idol worship. So, King Nebuchadnezzar, I call him King Nebi, said to his strongest guards and soldiers to tie up the 3 men. And they did. And he also told them to turn the furnace up 7 times hotter than normal. And they did. And when the biggest, strongest soldiers took the 3 men up to the furnace to throw them in, the heat was so hot that the soldiers died. They burnt right up. But the 3 Hebrew men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, did not die. They walked into the furnace. That tells you right there something's going on. Okay? So I guess they had been in there for a few minutes, and King Nebuchadnezzar's looking in the furnace, and he said he jumped up out of his seat, jumping up and down, talking to the people that were around him, like advisors and like his government people that are around him. He says, "Weren't there 3 men put into the furnace?" And they say, "Yes, your majesty." And King Nebi says, "Look, I see 4. Not 3, but 4 men in there walking around. And they're not tied up anymore. They're unharmed, walking around in this 7 times hotter furnace. And the 4th looks like a son of God's, which would be an angel, an Elohim. He approached the blazing furnace, saying and shouting, 'Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here.' So they walked out of the fire. Everyone there saw this too. All the king's men. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were unharmed, not one hair singed by flame, their clothes not scorched, and not even the smell of fire was on them. And then after King Nebuchadnezzar saw this miracle, old King Nebi was a believer in the Most High God. And can you imagine? And let me just tell you, before I wrote all this, before we had our storm, the snowstorm, and it's already been 30 minutes. I'm sorry, y'all. I wrote all that before our electricity went out. And where we've been using the kerosene heaters, everything in my house smells like the gas. It is horrible. So I can't imagine these 3 men coming out of there not smelling like fire. I mean, it just really gives me a whole new perspective. And I think it's crazy, but wonderful. God works miracles. And even if you don't feel it at the moment, even if you are in such despair, like they were, like Paul was back in 2 Corinthians, he was so burdened that he'd rather die, then you need to call on God and ask Him for help, and He will help you. Okay, guys. I'm sorry if this was very incoherent and stuff, but I had to get it done. Look, there's my breakfast. I still haven't ate. Sausage gravy, biscuits, and eggs. This is our room. But I'm going home today. The kids have had a blast here. They've been swimming. There's a hot tub. They're back at school. They went back to school yesterday. Pretty waterfall. Okay. Well, thank you for listening to me. I love y'all so much. And keep in the Word. Keep your armor on. Keep the fruits of the Spirit going strong. And keep praying for everybody. Pray, pray, pray. All day. Okay. Love y'all. Bye-bye.